world's greatest harmonica amp for blues jams. That's a big call. Let's see if I can back it up. Firstly, here it is. Fits into an accordion bag, goes over my shoulder like this, and then I walk into the jam. I'm ready to go. So let's have a look at, we'll talk about how jams work and why we might need something like this. So as far as I can see, jams are the same, blues jams are the same the world over. In a bar, a pub, you show up, there's someone running it, convener, you can usually pick them, they've got a clipboard, you go up and introduce yourself, give your name, what you play, or they might already know you. Generally, there's a stack of guitar players, fewer bass players, and even fewer drummers. And then 2 or 3 harmonica players, and maybe a saxophone, something else like that. Okay, so the way it works, as we've all seen, is the convener gets up and calls up 4 people, 2 guitars, bass and drums. They get 3 songs, then there's a changeover, and there's another band comes on, and maybe the drummer or the bass player stays. And the changeover is quick, a couple of minutes, and you're on in the next one. And usually blues jams run well, and then people get solos, etc., etc. Okay, so what do we do as harmonica players? If we look at the back line, there's usually 2 guitar amps, a bass amp, drums are set up, vocal mics. The guitar players plug into the guitar amps, they work, they can be loud as they need to be, maybe too loud. Likewise the bass amp, and generally the drums are fine. Okay, what do we have? Generally a vocal mic, which we play into, and the vocal mic will be loud enough because it has to be loud enough for the vocals. But what often happens is there's 2 notes that come out, your 2 draw, your 4 draw, you've got a couple of moves, anything else gets lost in the mush, which is one of the reasons why the harmonica players always sound the same at the blues jams, because there's only a couple of things they can play. Or there might be the harmonica amp, which will be some sort of guitar amp with a bullet mic attached to it, maybe set up properly, more likely not loud, or if it is, it feeds back, doesn't sound great. So, we can't be heard, which probably suits most people, but does not suit us. Okay, so a solution, right? We'll bring your own amp. Well, that leads to other problems. You've got this 2-minute changeover while you're trying to wheel your bassman onto stage, finding a place for it in front of the bass player or the drummer, and then climbing over people to plug it in, and you've got your chords. That doesn't work. And particularly if you're new at a jam, you don't want to draw attention to yourself by wheeling some big amp onto stage. Okay, so what does the world's greatest harmonica amp for blues jams need to do? Firstly, it needs to be plenty loud enough to cut through 2 guitars who might be cranking it, drums and bass. And loud enough so that you don't have to play hard, so you can play all of your lines without having to push them. Secondly, minimal footprint. Okay, maybe next to you on stage, next to your mic if you're singing, or off to the side, or maybe in front of the stage. Minimal stage real estate. And thirdly, battery powered. So you're not looking for a power outlet and trying to run a cord somewhere. So they're the 3 parameters. Okay, let's see how my amp fits those. So, look, open up the case. We'll start with harmonicas. So I'm a side L endorser, so it's the side L bag, and 1847 classics. The mic I use and recommend the Greg Human Bulletini. Here it is. Very commonly used mic with volume control. There's an adapter here which you screw on so that you can plug in a guitar lead. We'll turn the mic to its minimum. I have a dot on the back so I know where that is. Put it with the white out. Then wireless. So part of this is running a wireless mic, and thanks to Ben Bowman, who put me on to the Boss WL20. Okay, it's about as simple as you can get. These 2 items, you plug them into each other. The grey one is the receiver, the black one is the transmitter. And once these lights go out, the two ends have found each other and it just acts as a guitar lead. So that's ready to go. Okay, now, the amp. Here it is. Okay, so it sits on a pedal board, a rock board, Duo 2.0. Okay, the amp itself is the Quilter, here it is, Quilter Micro Block 45. Now Quilter no longer make these, unfortunately, but you can find them on eBay. That's where I got mine. Okay. Now this runs from a 24 volt power supply, which you get when you buy it, and it's similar to the power supplies you use for laptop computers. Okay. Notice this. This is the power lead here. We'll talk about how I get 24 volts in a minute. I've got it yellow so that I don't mix it up with the 9 volt power leads for the other devices. What happens when you plug 24 volts into a 9 volt pedal? You blow it up, as I found with a $300 Fender reverb pedal. Okay, then, so that's the amplifier itself. Then I've got a Lone Wolf harp shield, which is a noise gate optimized for harmonicas. And what that does is it stops the amp from feeding back when you're just walking around or holding your harmonica next to it. But the main thing, at least for my money, is this device, the Squeal Killer, made by Stella V Amplification. Okay, both of these run off 9 volts. This goes, it doesn't have any controls or anything. This goes in the last part of your pedal chain just before the amplifier. Both of these devices, these pedals, are controlled by this rock board. This is also from rock board. Power supply, I press this button to turn it on. Yeah, and it's a 9 volt power supply, kind of like the bricks you use for charging mobile phones, but designed to power pedals. And you'll easily get 6 hours or more out of this. Okay, now, where do I get 24 volts from? Remember, this is battery powered. Well, if we look at the back, what I've got is a 12 volt lead acid battery, which fits, you know, I chose it because it fits within the rock board, held in with Velcro. Okay. Then, you know, but we need 24 volts. So I've got this device, which I got from eBay, and it's a 12 volt to 24 volt converter. Okay, so you plug your 12 volts in from the battery. The output, there's only 4 leads in this device, so 24 volts, which go to this and power the Quilter micro block. The switch is this lead here. I've got a little cover for the terminal so it doesn't short it out. I connect this and the amp is now switched on. Okay, so this is ready to go, and I do this while I'm waiting before I go on. So I'm not doing this on stage. This is already done. So this amp is ready to go. Okay, now the speaker. The speakers are often overlooked, and the speakers are the most important part of the whole chain because that's what people hear. So the speaker I'm using is an Eminence Ragin Cajun. Here it is here, big magnet on the back. Some reason it didn't get the label, but it's a Ragin Cajun, 75 watt 10-inch speaker, renowned for being loud, and loud it is. This case I made out of pine with a birch ply baffle, and it's just big enough to hold the speaker, no bigger, and there's a lead already installed which plugs into the amp. Okay, you'll notice that the strap, the carrying strap, and the legs are sort of, they should be opposite each other. Not. Well, this is deliberate, so that when I put the speaker down like this, the top is flat. Okay, rather than having the handle there, so I can put my amp on. And here's my amp, as I said, ready to go. Pop it here. So I do all of this before I go on. So when I walk on stage, you know, I've got these two things. I put them down next to me. I plug in the speaker here. Okay, and I had this. I'll plug in. This goes into my mic, and this goes into the harp shield. you can't see, or maybe, no, you can't see, but there's a blue light that goes on. I've got the mic switched to 0. All right. Now, the amp, the gain I've got almost 3/4. The master I've got on 3/4. It's got something called tri-Q, which is 3 different types of EQ. I put it in the middle. The middle one, that's the one that seems to work. Okay, this thing is ready to go. Okay, and I've done all of this before the guitar players have even plugged in their amps or switched it. I'm ready to go. Okay. Right, so what does this sound like? So, acoustic. Let's turn this up a bit. That's loud. I've got this on about 1/3. And, you know, it's got the... That's the sound, okay? I mean, there'll be other amps that are better, but that's the sound. All right, there's no feedback. The Squeak Killer does work. Okay, now I'm going to turn it on. I don't know if you can see that. I'm going to turn on to about 3/4. Okay. Oh, too much. All right. It's been about half. I mean, that's thundering. That's thundering, okay? And you don't want to be louder than everyone, but you don't want to have to fight. With this thing, I don't have to fight. So when I get on stage, I set it so that it's comfortable. I can hear everything. Everyone in the audience can hear everything. I can play every note I want. I can play every line that I want. The world's greatest harmonica amp for blues jams.